Today on the Coaching Life podcast.
Adolescence is a huge issue, I think. Allowing someone who's 18, 19, 20 years old to still act like they're about 10, 11.
Yeah.
Make excuses for them. Call them kids. They're not kids.
You know what I think a big thing is when it comes to being what you want to be is, you know, a lot of times when 18-year-olds or 17, 19-year-olds are sitting in that graduation ceremony, they have these like preconceived thoughts about who they are. And that works two ways against them. It either confines them and keeps them from striving to be something better than what they think they are, or two, they have this given path that they're expected to go on, that they need to go on, that maybe they don't even want to go on, but they're just kind of feel pressure to go on.
Sure.
And they're focused on that path. And I think both of those are very dangerous, because when I look out at these young adults, I see so much potential, you know, and I don't know that they see that.
Welcome to the Coaching Life, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and young men, young women. I like that. Yeah. I talked today about how we're working through the Gospel of Luke on Sundays, and our passage today was when Jesus was 12 years old in the temple. So I talked about the boy Jesus, and actually one of the things that we talked about was how in Jewish culture that was a significant year, because at the turn of 12 to 13, you actually took on adult responsibilities. And we don't know what that is like in our culture, because we adopted this thing from the French culture, I believe, during the Renaissance period, called adolescence, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate adolescence because it's an excuse, in my opinion, for people to remain children all the way through college years and things like that. And living in a college town, trust me, I see it. I see the effects of adolescence. And how did I get on this tangent, Pat? Welcome to the Coaching Life podcast. Good evening, Pat.
Nice talking
what
to
kind
you,
of
Coach.
introduction is
Good
that?
to see you, man. I feel, I see exactly.
I just went
where we
off
might be
already.
headed here.
Yeah.
I think I could talk on that too, because you always hear that. Well, he's still a kid. Well,
Yeah. Don't you hate that?
he's still a kid. 22 years old.
Grow up.
You get that a lot with football players in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
You know, well, they're still
You and I
kids.
talked about that a couple weeks ago when Juju Smith-Schuster was like, I just got to be me, man. I got to be me. Well, what you mean? Are you saying you are a TikTok? Like, because he was dancing on people's logos in the football field and recording
By the way, he's
TikTok
not doing that
videos.
anymore.
TikTok videos. Yeah, he decided not to do that anymore after a couple losses in a row. But I'm
that's
like,
the problem,
how old
right?
is this dude anyway? I mean, he's got to be at least 20, right? He's older than that, right?
Juju?
Yeah, how old is he?
He's been in the league a couple years, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's
I don't know
bet you he's-
anyone 24 years old who uses TikTok. Do you?
No, but I have.
Do you have
Snapchat.
it on? I don't know.
I don't have TikTok.
Yeah.
I think I know some people, but I'm not for sure.
I don't know. I mean, that's
I don't know.
that's
TikTok's
probably not
one
a
of those
great
things.
example, because that people could argue that, oh, he's just having fun or whatever. But adolescence is a huge issue, I think. Allowing someone who's 18, 19, 20 years old to still act like they're about 10, 11.
Yeah,
Make excuses for them. Call them kids. They're not kids.
definitely make excuses. Yeah, you hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I think they took the fact that a male can grow until they're 22, 23 years old. They
Yeah,
can
physically,
They don't.
right.
They don't all do, but they
Right,
can.
right.
So they, he's still a kid. Practically
Still
like that. But
growing.
you know what?
Yeah.
It's deeper than that. We could probably get into an argument with a lot of people, because you know, in a lot of different things. We don't want a lot. You'll hear coaches say, "I don't want my kids imitating professional ball players. These guys are 10 years old. They're not professional ball players." Oh, well, who do you want them imitating?
Right.
Who do you want them imitating? You hear,
Yeah.
You'll hear, well, they're just kids. They're just kids. And that I think sometimes that the intent of that statement is absolutely true. If you're the type of individual that's, screaming and berating an 8-year-old in a basketball game or something like that, there's probably a line that you cross there.
And that's actually saying saying something more to the adult than it is about the kid.
Yeah.
Right? You're actually
absolutely.
speaking to the adult there who's acting like a child. in that moment.
Ooh, yeah, there you
All
go.
right.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, they're just kids. You're not. So act like an adult.
It's a huge weakness in our society, I feel like.
I agree,
because
man. I agree.
Yeah, because I think what happens is, not only is it's not just an excuse. It's not just an act of forgiveness for the kid, but it's almost like a crutch and an excuse not to teach the kid what they have to do or what they need to do.
That's exactly right.
Because yes, they're kids, but one day they won't be kids, and they're going to have to behave in a certain way. And if they're not taught that as a kid, they're not going to know to do that. You don't learn these things as an adult, because by the time that these kids were making excuses, well, she's just a kid. Well, okay. If she never learns how the way she is or isn't supposed to act, by the time she's 26, what are you going to say?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was just a kid, and we never taught her.
Yeah, we never gave her the opportunity to fight those battles on her own. We always did. She was just a kid, so we just took care of everything ourselves. At some point, I mean, these kids that are just kids, they're dealing with adult issues right now as well. So let them take on some responsibility in that sense and deal with some of these things. So I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I don't believe that. And I've actually said this. I go to Meg with the Middleport Youth League has a scholarship that they give out. It's the Middleport Youth League David Boyd Scholarship. Dave Boyd's the president of the Middleport Youth League.
Longtime president, has been committed to a group of kids there in Middleport for years and years and years. Yeah. Yes. Really, really good man.
And I go and I have it's really a privilege. I enjoy doing it. I didn't get to do it this year and I missed it, but I go to the high school during the scholarship ceremony and I get to to present this scholarship. And I usually say a few words, and most of the time people are telling me to cut it short because I talk too long. But I don't know. Can you believe that? Can you believe people tell me to cut things short, Coach? Never heard of it.
I know. I can't ever get a word in edgewise here. People know that's not true.
I've mentioned in my speeches that I don't believe the real world is waiting on high school seniors. I don't believe you're going out into the now it's time to go out into the real world. I don't believe that. I believe you've been in the real world.
Yeah.
You've met the real world. You know what it's like, and you've experienced those challenges at that stage in their life. And I think it's a weakness when we don't present that to our kids. It's like, well, just wait until you get, you know what? It's all about the way that you perceive it. It's all about the way you respond to it, right? And things seem more important to us as adults when but they're really not. I mean, to a 14-year-old, they have just as biggest problems in their lives as we do as 38, 39-year-olds, right? 40-year-olds.
Yeah, in many ways they do. Yeah. You and I we both have a pet peeve about graduation speeches. So yours are speeches to kids when you go into high schools and things like that. And I don't like that one either. That, hey, when you get out in the real world, right? Because you always hear that. They give those graduation speeches like, we're getting ready to go out into the real world. Well, wait a minute. What were you just doing here for the last 4 years, the last 6 years from middle school on? So I'm with you on that. Here's another one that I don't like during the graduation speech. Hey, you know what? Boys and girls, young men, young women, you can achieve whatever you want. Go out there and achieve whatever you want. You can do whatever you want to do. Blah, 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 blah. No, you can't. Here's the truth. I don't like that. And here's why. Here's the reality.
I may have said that.
You will achieve whatever you work to achieve, not whatever you want. There's a difference between wanting and working. And I actually wrote about this in one of my books, and I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Building Champions, where there's a huge difference. Like, we don't do, like, you and I, like, I got a chance to do a workshop for classified employees at Ohio University, and then later for administrative employees as well. And then I got invited to do one for the WellWorks employees, and it was really kind of a cool thing. Here I am, an employee of Ohio University myself, but I'm getting invited by these different organizations, these different senates, to come and do a leadership workshop for them and talk about different things, how to have good office culture and things like that. And one of the things that I said at the beginning of both of these is I said, one of the things that I love about workshops is what they're called. They're called workshops. Yes. They're not called, and I said, what I love about them is what they're not called. They're not a sin. I have never in my life been to a want shop. You ever been to a want shop? It's where everybody goes and they sit in a room and they talk about all these things that they want to accomplish and they think about it really hard, right? They say, okay, everybody go home and really want it really badly. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, no. Right? There's a reason why we call them workshops, because you have to do the work if you're going to accomplish anything. And so if I were ever invited to give a graduation speech, I might just call that particular line out and say, hey, we're not going to say that here. We're not going to say that here at such and such high school graduation this year. We're going to say, I think that'd be a great way to introduce it, right? Hey, kids, I want to tell you something. You will not be whatever you want to be. I'm just telling you right now. And just let it hang, and then give them the punchline. You'll be whatever you work to be.
Yeah. You know what I think a big thing is when it comes to, being what you want, in quotes, being what you want to be is, a lot of times when young adults, I shouldn't use kids, right? When 18-year-olds or 17, 19-year-olds are sitting in that graduation ceremony, mm-hmm. they have these like preconceived thoughts about who they are.
Yeah.
And that works two ways against them. It either confines them and keeps them from striving to be something better than what they think they are, or two, they have this given path that they're expected to go on, that they need to go on, that maybe they don't even want to go on, but they're just kind of feel pressure to go on. Sure. And they're focused on that path. And I think both of those are very dangerous because, one, the first outlook is I'm telling you, and it's so corny. I know it is. And I know, if I when I mention things like this in front of these classes, they roll their eyes. But am I a middle-aged person now? Am I middle-aged? I'm 40. Am I middle-aged?
Well, have you bought a Corvette yet?
I haven't bought a Corvette.
Do you wear gold chains and sweatsuits? Unzip,
no.
Unzip it down where your chest hair show.
So I'm not middle-aged.
So you're not quite there. That's the midlife crisis. My bad. I'm more middle-aged than you are. I know I'm middle-aged. You're at least asking about
anyway.
it. Okay.
Whatever I am, I feel very old today. But whatever I am, when I look out at these young adults, I see so much potential, and I don't know that they see that. Mm-hmm. And if I say something like that, like I said, I know they kind of roll their eyes. But the thing is, what keeps them from being greater than what they might end up being in those two paths, when they feel like there's nowhere for them to go, or they feel like there's only one place for them to go, is exactly what you said. Understanding that every day they come out, it's their work, it's their focus, it's their energy that determines where they end up. None of that is set in stone. And a lot of that has to do with failure and disappointment and understanding how to handle that. A lot of it has to do with success, right? Yeah. Success and happiness, and understanding how to handle that. But those are things that a lot of times as parents and as coaches, we're not talking about with our kids. We want to talk about the X's and O's. We want to talk about the officials, how unfair coaches are sometimes.
Yeah.
Things like that.
And you're not getting a fair shake. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to talk about how you overcome that. And, I think that's an important skill or important understanding to have as a young person, is that you do have this potential to do great things, but the way you get there is to work for it. And
it's not just going to happen.
No, it's not just going to happen for sure. Right.
Well, one of the great ways that I think you and I have discovered this, and many other people, hundreds of people, thousands of people have discovered this across the nation, especially during this time of year. It's a big thing that people talk about a lot. Here we are, first week of 2021. A new year is upon us. And every year you and I, well, I think for the last 2 years, or have you just done this for 1 year?
This is my 1 year.
So you've had 1 year of what we talked about last year on the podcast, obviously, called the 1 word challenge. So creating a New Year's resolution by not saying, hey, here are some things that I want to accomplish or do in the new year. These are my goals for the new year. But basically taking 1 word and allowing that 1 word to just be your word for the year, meaning it is the word that you go back to all year long to help define who you are and why you're doing what you're doing and how you make decisions and what your purpose is and everything that you're doing in that year. And it's something that's actually a process that we talked about. We did an entire podcast on it last year where we talked about, hey, take some time and ask yourself a series of questions like, what do I need the most in my life right now? As I look ahead to this year and I look where I'm at right now, what do I need? And just answer that question. What do I need? What are some things that I need in my life? Physically, emotionally, intellectually, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is. And then ask yourself, what's in my way? And take some notes, write those things down. Here's some obstacles that I've faced. Here's some things that are keeping me from being what I need to be. And then just make a list of things that need to go. What are some things in my life that I know need to go? I have to eliminate those things. And then, as you sit and answer these questions and as you ponder these things, hopefully what begins to happen is you look back at the notes you're taking and you're seeing maybe a word or two that you're repeating as you write these things down, and you're getting an idea of, okay, there is a word here for my year. Are you hearing that, Pat?
I heard something. I didn't know what it was.
I think we have enemy forces coming into our podcast right now.
Oh, really?
It was like alien. There was an alien, I think, landing in my backyard. Apparently,
is this viewer from? Is that from the listener from Portugal is tacking in?
Yeah.
We finally figured this out.
You guys know we have listeners from 42 states and 38 countries on the Coaching Life podcast, and that's thanks to all of you out there who are listening. We should, man, we're on all kinds of tangents tonight. But I'm blaming that one on the alien that just landed in the middle of our podcast right there. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on the recording, but that was pretty wild. It's like a really low hum.
I don't think I heard it.
It's gone now. Oh, you didn't hear it?
I don't think so. Your side broke up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And we're back.
Okay. So anyway, you and I probably, I'm guessing you've selected a word for 2021. Have you?
I have.
I have as well. It took me a little while to figure this one out this year. Usually I have my word by January 1st, but I didn't. I pondered it and I made notes in my journal and I thought about it again. And I had a couple different words on January 1st. And then I think finally a couple days ago, as I'm talking, God, Pat's switching his background as I'm talking here, and now he's in Paul Brown Stadium because the Browns won. I know they're a playoff team now. Way to go, Browns! Congratulations! Right, they can finally open those Bud Light coolers and drink those Bud Lights they put in there in 2018.
You're getting this all wrong. One, those Bud Lights have already been drank, and two, this is First Energy Stadium. Okay, this is First Energy Stadium. Paul Brown is Cincinnati.
Oh
Stadium.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't know why do I get that mixed up?
Because Paul Brown was...
Yes, the Cleveland owner, right?
No, he was the first great NFL coach, and he happened to be the coach of the Cleveland Browns for a good period of time.
And his stadium is in Cincinnati.
The father of modern football, by the way. You're welcome, everybody out there, on behalf of the Browns, on behalf of all Browns fans. You're welcome that you have a passing game to watch. Okay. Patrick Mahomes, you're welcome. You're welcome.
You know what the title of this podcast is going to be, Pat? Tangent.
It's just going to be
tangents. How tangents happen in a podcast. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you what my word was last year.
Let's hear it. We know.
It wouldn't be. Everyone probably doesn't know. They probably don't remember. And it wouldn't be it wouldn't go with the way this podcast has started today. I don't think it was discipline. Discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you've kind of joked with me, you text with me sometimes, and you've joked on the podcast too about how I've done really well on that. But man, you've had a good year. You've had a good,
Why do you think
disciplined
so?
year. I know, like you'll say things like, "Oh, I yelled at an official today. That's really disciplined," or whatever. But you're going to have those moments. But don't you think that when you look back on the totality of this year, I mean, we all have little failures, right? But we got to keep going. It's like okay, we take 2 steps forward, but we're always going to get hit and take 1 step back. It's like the old Rocky speech. I love it. I just sent that speech. I was watching Rocky. I was flipping through the channels the other night, and Rocky Balboa was on, and I recorded it because it happened to be on right at that speech where he's talking to his son. I'm like, this is the greatest speech ever in the history of film, I believe. And I texted it to a bunch of people, and I even tweeted it out. But I love it because it's like, dude, it's not about being able to throw punches. It's about taking them, right? You get knocked down, you got to be able to get back up, and that's what life is. Yeah, you got knocked down a little bit, but you had a disciplined year. I
think so. I think the biggest failure that I had, personally for me, is from probably from a health perspective. I didn't work out as much as I wanted to. I didn't eat as well as I wanted to.
Everybody out there listening, raise your hand if you can attest. It was 2020, and I like to say that I'm pretty committed too. But man, I'm with you there. That happened to me as well.
So. But when I think back, I know that my patience has improved. I know that I've done a lot better job at pivoting, which was one of the goals that I wrote down for myself. I'm the type of person that really likes a schedule and likes to stick to the schedule. So as far as a practice goes, or the day that was planned goes, or anything like that, it would bother me. It would impact me normally if things would change, or something would get, knocked out of whack or something like that. And I know that obviously one of the biggest things that all of us faced this year was the pandemic. And, I guess we're still facing that. And for me personally, I had to work from home starting in March. I've been working from home, for almost 10 months. And a lot of people out there think, wow, that's great. But
no, not really.
Yeah. But for me, it's not, for whatever reason, I don't know why, it's never something that I've enjoyed to do. It's always been very challenging for me. So that was just, something else that kind of got put on my plate. And I had to be really disciplined in the way that I approached my day-to-day activities, so that I wasn't just worthless at the end of the day. I had to move around. I had to, make sure I ate lunch.
Sure.
These things. People are like,
put on pants.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't have to do that.
That's right. That's right. So Zoom meetings, no pants needed. That's right. That's right.
I had to make sure no one saw my underpants.
That's right.
No, I think there's things that I think overall, and this is what we talk about. Have I, have I become this role model for discipline? No, absolutely not. However, I am more disciplined today than I was at the beginning of the year. And hopefully I can continue that into next year. Just because we're going to talk about maybe switching, picking a different word here, doesn't mean that I'm going to completely forget about the idea and the concept of discipline.
Yeah, you build on these words. You don't you don't stop with the word you had last year. You basically add to it, right? And so it's discipline and your next word. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the goal right there. I mean, that's the whole idea. That is a New Year's resolution succeeded. I believe that you're more disciplined today than you were January 1st of 2020. Yeah. Not
as much as I wanted to be.
Sure. And I think,
but more.
And I'm not going to make an excuse for you because I'm not about excuses, but I think a lot of people would say the same thing. This has been a funky year, and we don't need to say that because everybody knows it's been a funky year. Isn't that really wild? It doesn't matter where you are in the world. I mean, there are a lot of things that just like we experience here in the United States, and it's just us, right? And so we think we're the whole center of the world. But literally, what we have experienced has been everywhere, all around the world.
Yeah, in one way or another, because even for places that have low counts or haven't really experienced
or who handled it differently, right, and didn't experience as much change, right? Like places like Sweden or wherever.
right? But they're still facing,
Yeah, absolutely.
Economic
Yep.
fallout from, Americans aren't traveling now. We're
Right.
not allowed. We're not allowed to go anywhere.
Yeah.
People have shut their borders to us. So yeah, everyone is kind of experiencing the same thing, which is,
Yeah.
it's a good point. Never really thought of it that way.
Yeah. You talk about having a worldwide community. I mean, like a connection to everybody in the world. COVID-19 has given us a connection to every person in the world. It's incredible.
Good thought.
Yeah. My word in 2020 was significance. And my goal, and I don't know why I laughed when I said that.
I wondered why you're laughing.
Well, I don't know, because I set out at the beginning of 2020, and I thought, I want to make sure that everything that I set out to do this year, I keep in mind that I want to be I want to be significant. I want, and it sounds really, it sounds a little bit. I don't mean for it to sound egotistical. It's like I don't mean significance in the way that I got to be in the center, like I got to be really held high here and in the center of everything. But I want to have a significance in other people's lives. I want to make sure that someone is significantly impacted by either something that I've said, something in some way that I've served them, and something that I've done. And I got to tell you, man, it was a challenge, because we got 3 months of interacting with people,
Yep.
January, February, and March. Really, not even March. I mean, about 2.5 months. Halfway through the March, we're like, no, everybody lock down, shut yourself in your house, and then talk to people only on video. And it's like, gee, how can I have a significant impact on people? And so I tried to bust my tail in creating, creative ways for our student ambassadors at the college to be able to have jobs, to get a little bit of income and to stay connected with us as a college. And so we created a podcast with them. And I really kind of felt like, hey, this was a significant impact. It was really kind of a cool thing. It was called the Quarantine College Life, and got a chance to interview, 19 different ambassador students who talked about how they were handling, doing college from home and things like that. But man, it just to continue every single, just week after week, trying to find ways to be, to have a significant impact in people's lives and in the culture. I volunteered to coach a team this summer, which I really felt good about. One, it was fulfilling for me. Coaching is fulfilling for me regardless, and so it's a little bit selfish every time I desire to coach, because I know that I'm going to receive a lot. I'm going to receive as much as I give. And so, but whenever I coach, I just want to pour myself into what we're doing. And so, even though it was a summer team that we threw together at the last minute, I really felt like we poured ourselves into these kids this summer, and that was good. But yeah, like you, it was tough to try to, as I look back over this year, thinking, wow, was that a success? Was this word a success? I'm glad that the way you do one word is you just build on it, because I need to continue to say, hey, you know what? Let's just keep finding ways to bring significance into this life,
Sure.
into this culture.
Well, in episode one was a long time ago, but I said I'm here to validate you, right?
Yeah, you did. That's right.
The summer baseball team that you coached was a group of kids that never got the opportunity to play a
single high school game
or junior,
for the most part. Yeah.
And that's big. It was a cute thing to do at the beginning in March, when people would, kind of laugh off the idea that these kids would be missing a season. Well, it's just a baseball season.
It's just baseball, Pat. It's just baseball.
Yeah. And that's just people that don't understand. Yeah. But they don't understand, the significance of that one season, but also the magnitude of now the situation that we find ourselves in, that one season is now rolling over into other things that they're being impacted by. And basically it started, it started with their spring sports season being stripped from them, and it really hasn't ended yet. They're taking hits.
They're concerned right now how it's going to impact their spring sports season. If you live in West Virginia right now, if you're a spring sports person in West Virginia, what are you thinking about right now?
Yeah,
our governor just said that they can't start winter sports until March. So what do we? I mean,
Yeah.
And that's, if you live in Colorado and you're listening to us, that's what we're dealing. You might be dealing with it there. I don't know. Let us know. But that's what Pat's talking about. It's like, I would be a nervous wreck, right? Your buddy Billy, our friend Billy Zussman, right? He's a coach in West Virginia, right?
Yep.
What's he thinking about right now? I'd be a nervous wreck as a high school coach right now, thinking about how's it going to impact us. We lost our entire season last year.
Yeah. Well, Coach Zussman's a basketball coach too. So he's it's kind of been a double whammy for him and for them, because they haven't even played basketball this year. A lot of places have played basketball. They haven't.
Wow.
You know
West Virginia hasn't played any basketball at all? I didn't know that.
Well, no, they didn't play all.
So when they say they're moving their season back to March, it's not like moving it back after December. Like we're going to continue after March. They're saying they're going to start. Holy crap! I didn't know that, Pat.
Yep, they didn't play week 1. They didn't play week 1.
Gosh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I know. It's rough, man.
That is. And I could throw a rock halfway across the Ohio River, right? In Ohio, we've played. How many games have you played? You're 15, 16 games in, aren't you?
7 or 8.
Okay. So, middle school, right?
Yeah, that's probably about the same. But it's probably about the same.
And yet,
high school.
So a stone's throw away.
We've had some cancelizations too because of illness. So you're going to have that. We'd probably be.
Which, by the way, the
10 games in.
I read a thing today. The NFL has gotten all of their games in as of today, all of them. So the NFL plays by their own rules, though, right? The NFL basically says, "Screw you, government. We make our own rules. We're going to do it. We're going to do it this way." And they're the only sports program that has gotten all their games in.
Yeah.
I'm not against that.
Number of fans in the stadium. No, I'm not either. Right, it's just the inconsistency that we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to But anyway.
All right, I don't know how we tangent. This is tangent. Right.
This is not good. I get rail on the governors of West Virginia.
We're supposed to start off this year with a positive podcast. That's right.
All right. I'm not for sure. Okay. But I guess what I was saying is you spent a lot of good time and gave a group of kids that otherwise wouldn't have had a very good experience in baseball this summer. You're working with kids in southeastern Ohio at a facility called Baseline, in a town that doesn't have a lot of reasons right now for people to come to it, and it's something that I think people can start talking about and have a little bit of pride in the community and know that it's doing something good, regardless of if you're 100% behind everything that's going on in the facility or anything like that. It's a neat little thing to have in Middleport, Ohio. That's significant to me, very significant. And then obviously I the work that you've done with your church Oasis. There was a period of time when I know you were pretty frustrated about not really for sure what you were going to do, and I feel like the steps that you took in going remote and providing a remote service for a period of time where you obviously couldn't get together in person, and
we still can't get together in our normal location.
Right. Yeah, and so you've you adapted to that, you pivoted to that, and you're doing it at another place. But I'm just saying, in a time when people were shut out from a lot of things, you were still able to provide that connection to the church and to
I appreciate that. Yeah.
So that's significant. I think you've done a lot of significant things this year.
Well, you are here to validate me, so I appreciate you for that.
You're welcome. I still got your back, Coach.
Listen, people, you should never need somebody else to validate you. So I just want to throw that out there, right? You should never need anybody else to validate you. Well, we got what?
I don't know about that. I think that's the true mark. If you have other people validating you, that means you're valid. If you don't, if you could validate, you could say you're about everything you want. But if it's just you saying it, it doesn't matter. It's got to be other
but
people.
You don't ever want to seek your validation in somebody else's opinion about you, right?
You didn't ask me for your opinion. I can tell you there's some other stuff that I just can't stand about you if you want to go that route.
There you go. So it's not like you withhold that. We tell each other how we feel, right? So that's not we got to keep each other honest. Well, dude, we got maybe 10 minutes left to tell it. You want to talk about our new year one word for 2021?
We have 10 minutes left. What's our topic for the podcast today? What's
Tangents. No. I will say this. I have 2 guests that I am bound and determined to schedule this week. So
I hope when you schedule it, I don't have something else to do like I did last time. You're supposed to schedule it. That would have been a complete disaster. I don't know what happened to me there. That's my bad.
Well, anyway, we've got 2 guests that we're hopefully going to have on our next 2 podcasts, and we really think will be an enriching, time for those of you who listen. Really great conversation with both of them. It's going to be a completely different type of conversation, but one will be really relevant, I think, to student athletes, to young, high school students and parents of high school students right now who are wanting to get their kids recruited and really concerned about, hey, is it okay to take a walk-on offer, and things like that, versus, how do we handle this? And then a second one who's an author of one book, but he's going to be an author of another book. And this new book that he's writing is it's kind of a memoir about a community that has been extremely successful in every sport. And he reminded me this week, not just every team sport, even every individual sport, they're just winners. They win in everything they do. And so he's kind of researched, and he's from there. And so he has inside information, and he's researched and talked to people and just compiled a lot of really great insight into what possibly has been their secret to success. And I cannot wait. This is a good friend of mine. I cannot wait to have him on the podcast. And so my goal is to get him on. He's retired, so he ought to have some time. Actually, when you're retired, you're busier than anybody. I found that out from my dad.
You try to be, yeah. You should
right,
be.
Right. But we're going to try to get him on, and I think it'll be a blessing to everybody who listens. And so we got some good stuff planned. Yeah. Even though this particular episode, we have no idea what the topic is, so we will have we will have it eventually.
Try to steer in a different direction. So my one word, the idea of building upon discipline was kind of the driving force of me selecting the word that I went with. But also too, I know that going into this year, things are going to be a lot different for me than they've been in the past. I'm going to be, I'm not going to be, it doesn't look like anyway, I'm going to be coaching either of my kids this summer in baseball, but they're both going to be playing on 2 separate teams. And I know it's going to be very challenging for my wife Chassie and I to figure that out, where we're going to be and how we're going to do it, how we're going to pull it off. There's going to be things like that pop up this year. My schedule, just in general, from a professional perspective, is looking to be pretty heavy as well. So for me, there's a lot of things out there that's going to be kind of floating around, maybe distractions or obstacles, you could say, to that idea of being disciplined for me. So ultimately, I know that one of the keys to me living a happy and fulfilling life this year is going to be, staying focused and getting things done. Okay. And the things that I want to get done they vary in a lot of different shapes and sizes, but ultimately it's about doing things. And so my one word for 2021, I'm so glad it's 2021. My one word is going to be execute.
I like it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Execute.
Not the execute as in like the guillotine.
Yeah.
But, getting stuff done.
You may come to a point in 2021 where you're like, dude, just execute me right now.
Yeah, that's true.
No,
that's true.
Execution. You got to execute from here on out every day. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. Get it done. And that's a word that I toss out a lot to, when we're in practice, to our team. Whatever team I might be coaching at the time, that's one of the big things that we talk about is, listen, guys, we've got, we're going to work hard to give you all the tools that you need to get things done in the game. But when it comes to execution, which is getting it done,
Yep.
At some point, we got to step back. When I say we, I'm talking about coaches. We have to step back, and you're the ones that are executing it. So that brings to mind to me that you're in the middle of it. That you Pat are putting yourself in the middle of getting crap done. I like it. I like it. I pondered for a long time as I was answering these questions, what do I need the most? What's in my way? What needs to go from my life? And I pray as well. When I pray, I ask God, what do you want? What do you want to do in and through me this year and this next year? Yeah. And I just sit and wait. I just sit and I just start writing words down. And I really do. I mean, I've got like a list of words here. I mean, I'm holding it up to the screen so you can see them. Like I got a list of words that I just write down in that journal after that prayer. And it's like, I've got seek, meaning and everything I do, focus on meaning, doing things with meaning. So I thought, maybe meaning is my word, right? Maybe that's my word. And so that I was back and forth with that. And another one, I thought, and then I remember I looked up on my bookshelf as I was sitting there, as I was writing this stuff down. I looked, and on my bookshelf was the book Grit, which I read a couple years ago, and I'm like, ooh, that's it right there. That's exactly that's me. But it's like it didn't feel right. It's like, no, that just came because I happened to look up and see it. And so I'm just continuing to write. So I wrote Grit down, right? And I'm writing all these down, and I start to write, statements like, well, I need to focus on things that are meaningful, and anything that's not meaningful, that's not creating a positive mindset for me, I need to not focus on it. And those are the things that I talked about. And so I started like, okay, so what's the opposite of meaningful, right? And it's like, well, and for some reason when I look up like words that are opposite in a thesaurus, you see things like meaningful. There's a word that'll show up opposite, and it's the word idle. It's like, ooh, idle. That's something that we've probably had a lot of us have had a lot of idle time.
Yes.
During this, this whole COVID stuff that we've dealt with for the last several months.
Right, definitely.
Right. And so I'm like, ooh, okay, well, what's the opposite of idle? And then you kind of look up the opposite of idle. And it's like full. Full is the opposite of, that's one word for it, right? Fulfilled, being, doing things that are fulfilling, that is the opposite of idle. And one of the things that as I sat and I just jotting all this stuff down. I got like arrows and circles and notes all over my notebook here. I'm like, okay, one of the things that we have really felt throughout this year is uncertainty. It's like we're not certain. Like you mentioned it already, we're not certain about where our church is going to be able to meet next week. Things like that. There's a lot of uncertainty, and so, what is the opposite of uncertainty? And the first word that came to my mind, and I don't know why this was the word, because I wouldn't have, if I thought about it again, I wouldn't probably think of this word. But it was the word resolve. And I thought, resolve. What does that mean? And I looked up the definition of resolve, and I read things like to settle or find a solution, to sort out, to firmly take action, be determined. Grit was one Urban Dictionary's definition of resolve. Provide resolution, have clarity. Make serious decision to do something. These are the kinds of things that the word resolve means. And so the more I read about that, the more I thought, you know what? This is my word for 2021. I want to focus on having a strong determination in everything that I do. And I want to have resolve. And when I think about resolve, I don't necessarily think that, well, that means that I'm going to have all the answers, or I'm going to have an answer to everything that happens this year. But I'm going to resolve to help.
Yeah.
If we need an answer, I'm going to listen. I'm with you. I'm taking this on. We're going to resolve to do that. And so it's especially dealing with things that I know that I can control. I know I need to have resolve this year. There's just a firmness about it, right? It's something about it's me focusing on things that I know that I can firmly say I need to focus on this. If there's anything in my life that I'm like, I'm not sure if I should focus on this or not, that's not resolve. That's unclarity. That's uncertain, right? That's not clarity. I mean, I need to just immediately say, I'm putting that aside.
Yep.
Because I'm gonna resolve to focus on that which I know I can have an impact on. So that's my word, resolve.
Good word.
Yeah, execute and resolve. I think we can work together with that, buddy.
Let's roll with it. I wonder if anyone else has a one word. No one reached out to us last year.
Yeah. On this particular thing, no one actually reached out to us. I hope so.
We got some listeners out there that, like, some of them message me every once in a while. They're like, hey. Some of them are mean to me, like, hey, where's the podcast? I'm waiting on Monday morning.
Yeah, I didn't even go to work because I had nothing to listen to.
Couldn't go to work. Didn't have anything let's do on the ride to work. If anyone out there likes to reach out to us about the podcast, come up with your one word. Try to come up with a one word for 2021. Yeah. It might be celebrate. Some people's word might be celebrate.
It doesn't matter what it is. Just pick a word that is going to define everything about you this year. That's going to change your life. One word that will change your life this year. Doesn't matter what it is. Right? I mean, it can't be beer. I guess it could be, but
yeah,
that would be a weird one. That's not the spirit that we're talking about here.
I'll accept it though if that's the only thing anyone.
If that's at least you're doing it right. At least you're listening.
How?
Yeah, right.
Give us a use case or something and how that's going to help things.
That might be a listener we want to have on, right? Like if beer is your word, then we want to have you on as a guest, but like later in the evening.
I don't know. I know this, Coach.
Okay.
And I said May. I said we'd be out of this by May, and I don't think
that's coming close.
But I know this. We're getting out of this year. We're having our victory day this year. Sometime. I don't know when. I don't know what else we're going to lose here. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what other challenges we're going to face. But at some point this year, we're going to be able to definitively say we're back to normal. I believe that.
I'm going to count on you to execute that.
Well, it's going to take a lot of resolve.
Governor Pat. Yeah, right. Oh, boy.
No one wants me as the governor, that's for sure.
I want you as the governor. I'll vote for you, brother.
I may run. Do I have to have any experience at all to be a governor?
Do you have to have experience to be a president?
No response to that. Tangent. That was our topic for the day, and we
covered it well.
Executed that with great resolve.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
I hope everybody enjoyed it.
We'll see you next week, or we won't see you. We'll talk to you next week. We'll talk at you, hopefully with a guest.
Sounds good.
Go Browns.
Good talking to you, Coach.
Good talking to you.